In a new reality, in a new order, God will bring rain when his people need it. God will ensure that his people are provided for through the land he has given them, by giving them vegetation in the field. Now, at least two interpretive issues arise in this verse. First of all, is the rain, is it actual water falling from the sky, or is it a symbol of spiritual blessing? Is the reference to latter rain an eschatological reference? In other words, is it referring to the end times or the end of time? This verse seems to work in the context to tell the people not to look for blessing from intermediaries. And by that I really mean intermediaries such as a king like Darius was the Persian king at the time. So don't look for blessing there, but to encourage them to follow God and to trust him to provide. If one works from the supposition that prophecy had meaning to the implied audience there, it'd be around 500 BC at that time, and if you take that, and then that it was not just a mystery only to be understood at a later time, then it seems likely that real rain fits the historical context. This does not negate the possibility that there could be a future dynamic to these statements as well, and in other words, an already but not yet sort of fulfillment dynamic. Yet, due to the historical context, it seems that real rain was in view. If the text refers to real rain, which God alone can provide, then it is a bold statement about his creative powers. It is welcome news to people who have been experiencing drought. Some have asserted that this text resembles a divine warrior hymn, which would make it a bold statement about God's creative powers. It is asserted that God alone can command the storm and bring the rains, not other gods, whether Canaanite, Babylonian, or Persian. Additionally, it is important to note that this activity in the present enables the material of primordial creation to remain intact. For example, the vegetation in the field, which benefits from the showers, derives from the primal vegetation, the vegetation which God spoke into existence in Genesis 1. The making of the storm clouds now sustains God's original work of creation. So not only is God alone the creator in a singular act, but he alone can and does sustain creation, which is important for those expecting God to fulfill promises. This metaphor and others in chapter 10 demonstrate God's ability to bring a new, hopeful future. Well, the next part I'd like to talk about my garden. This past Sunday, I truly did enjoy my Sabbath playing in my yard. Now, as a child, as a teenager even, I did not enjoy doing yard work on Sundays, or Saturdays even. But I've learned as an adult, I really do enjoy it. It's a break from my everyday life of deep thought and, and being inside and that sort of thing. So I finished planting my garden on Sunday. My wife and daughter, they helped out. Megan dug around a little. It was great. It was about 60 degrees, 65 outside, bright and sunny. I started by expanding my garden another 6 feet, which makes it about 28 feet long by 4 feet, maybe 4.5 feet wide in some spots. Then plus I have an 8x4 raised bed where I planted some things a while back which were more cold tolerant. So the big section contains several good items: pumpkins, watermelons, cantaloupe, tomato, bush beans, carrots, spinach, sweet peppers, jalapenos, bell peppers, and I left off corn. Anyway, I had fun, and I'm looking forward to watching stuff grow in my yard. If you want to see a video of the garden, you can find a link to one on the blog. It's even in glorious high definition. So you can find that on the blog, a link to a YouTube video. Quite fun stuff. And then, finally, to conclude this week, I'd like to talk about just a really fun opportunity that I had Monday night, Monday, April 26th. I attended a lecture or a presentation, sort of, between those two things at the school I attend, Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. It was quite an intriguing discussion. Dr. Steve Collins presented the findings that he and his team have uncovered over the last 5 years at Tal El Hammam. Was pretty intriguing. You can find a link to his site, which details the archaeological dig, as is strongly encouraged by the Israeli Antiquities Authority and all of those other sorts of Levantine archaeology associations. To summarize his presentation, he suggests that the Bible is useful for observing geography, the geography of Palestine, even if nothing else. So even if the stories are purely fictional, he would say that the geography is accurate because the ancients did not make up fictional geographies. You just don't find that. He remarked that even Israel Finkelstein has admitted as much. Then Collins established that the biblical record in Genesis presents Sodom as a city on the northeast side of the Dead Sea, which is, of course, against William F. Albright's location somewhere on the southeastern side of the Dead Sea. Albright contended that the site of Sodom had probably been flooded at this point, and so was never going to be recovered. Now, the site which Collins is excavating satisfies the geographical criteria for Sodom. Then he approached the stratigraphy of the site, how things stacked up. He said occupational levels exist from the Chalcolithic age through the Middle Bronze Age, and he showed pictures and that sort of thing, with a destruction layer there in the Middle Bronze Age, and then no occupation again until the Iron Age, 5 to 7 centuries later. Finally, a Roman fort was built atop the Iron Age structure, the Iron Age structure has a 6-chambered gate, which, if you know anything about archaeology in that area, means that it was likely built during Solomon's reign, which would place it around, roughly 950, 900, around in there, BC. The destruction layer is quite interesting because they have found pottery with a superheated glass on it, which is uncharacteristic of the pottery from that particular era. It appeared to have a glaze on the outside of the pottery, and there was no glaze on pottery during the Middle Bronze Age in that area. He said they didn't get a glaze on pottery until a lot later. So when he had the glaze examined, it turned out to be superheated glass, most similar to what is produced from a nuclear explosion or a meteor strike. That's getting kind of crazy. The temperatures required to heat the glass to its present molecular structure would have been around 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. An event that hot would explain why there was ash in the destruction layer. While Collins did not say outright that this is biblical Sodom, he did appear to think it, and he said that it satisfies the necessary criteria to fit with what the written source in Genesis presents, which is archaeological speak for this is the biblical Sodom, but I haven't quite convinced the other archaeologists yet. So it's a pretty interesting presentation there. I hope you'll check out his site, and goodness, even think about going over there and doing a dig on his team. You can be a part of that if you'd like to. So I hope you've enjoyed these issues, and we will see you again next week.